Now, as I've mentioned, if you've been in my trainings prior, if this is your first time taking our agent training, the one thing that I will be reiterating throughout this entire demonstration is going to be our support team. Our support team is working around the clock and they're readily available for you whenever you need. If you prefer to pick up the phone and give them a call, you can expect them to answer by the second ring. If you prefer more of an instant chat, you can expect them to respond to that within 10 seconds. And then lastly, we offer an email component, and this is one of my favorites. It's a great way to send over maybe a list of questions or some screenshots, and you can expect a response to that within 20 minutes. The other thing that I do like to always mention is that our team is also able to hop on screen shares with you. So if you're going through your workflow and you get stuck, feel free to give them a call, ask for a screen share, and they can hop on to walk you through it. That way you get through and get everything that you need completed, but you also have the reassurance that you're doing it correctly. The 3 steps that we'll be covering here today for your agent workflow is step 1, creating your forms. Step 2, executing those forms using our digital signature tool called DigiSign. And step 3, we're going to go ahead and turn those executed forms in by simply creating either a listing or a transaction file. So now we're going to go ahead and hop right on over to our main SkySlope screen. And this is going to be your main page that you're brought to each and every time that you log into your account. This is what we call SkySlope Suite. And when you log into SkySlope Suite, the logo in the upper left-hand corner will be replaced by your brokerage's logo. And this will also act as a home button. So anywhere you are within SkySlope Suite, all you need to do is select on the logo here in the upper left-hand corner, and it will always take you right back on over to your main page. Now, this main page gives you a bird's eye view of everything that you're currently working on. You'll see that these are hyperlinked, meaning that you can hop on into any of those active files. Now, as I mentioned, we rave about our support team, and in addition to being able to contact them via phone, via chat, via email, you also have access to our help page at any time. So this will lead you on over to your support page, and you'll be able to search in keyword items. So let's just say I type in agents. All of the different articles popping up here is going to show you different resources. We also have it so you're able to go ahead and view by video if you're a visual learner, or if you want to read more step by step, you also have that as well. You'll also be able to browse popular topics, so other topics or features that are being searched, as well as browse tutorials by product. This browsing tutorial by the product will allow for you to kind of dive into each product that SkySlope offers, just to understand every integrated tool that you have access to. Now, our first step, whenever you are creating a file, no matter if you're representing the seller or if you're representing the buyer, will always begin on our form side. So in order to get there, you'll see your apps icon here in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll want to navigate down to forms. Again, this is the first spot that you go to when you're ready to officially start creating your file. Before we walk through the steps of creating a forms file, the first thing that I want to focus on is setting up your forms user profile. So the first time that you log in here, I encourage you to set up your personal information. Very important to input in all regions that you work within, because those regions are connected to the association libraries. And then enter in your brokerage information. The information in your forms profile is going to auto-populate when you're using your association forms as well as your broker-specific forms. And we'll get to those, but first, the next thing that we're going to walk through is setting up, in fact, those association libraries. Now, the first time that you log in here, you won't have any libraries that are added underneath this tab. And I encourage you to go in and add in the associations you're affiliated with. I already have Michigan added in my library, but all you would need to do is type that in and select add. The first time that you add a library, an association library to your libraries tab, it will ask for you to confirm the last name as well as the NERDS ID affiliated with that. As long as that's confirmed, it would then land underneath your connected association libraries.
You know, I can't find anything.
What are you referring to?
Well, I'm trying to get to where you're at, and I can see me now, but
Can
I'm not,
everybody else see the screen?
I'm lost. I mean,
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. It may have popped up into a different window, Bill.
Okay.
I would just, yeah, look around your screens. If not, this is recorded, so we can always send that over to you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so as I mentioned, your first step when creating a file is always going to begin on the forms portion. So again, you log into SkySlope Suite, which is where we just came from, and navigate on over to SkySlope Forms. To create a file, you'll select on this Create button here. It'll ask you questions here. So who is the client? And we're going to go ahead and select the seller for this representation. And then the next one is going to be the client's information. So we'll go ahead and start putting that in. And then is there a property yet? I already have the property, so we'll add that in. And then how would you like to name the file? So personal preference of mine, I like to keep it with the property address. I feel as though when you're trying to locate the file, it makes it a little bit easier. This is how it will be named on that forms page that we just came from. You also have the ability to toggle on over to the primary client or customize if you'd like to do that as well. Now, lastly, you do have the ability to go in and create templates. You have personal templates, and then you have brokerage templates, and your sales managers have gone in and created brokerage templates that they want readily available in your account. And the benefit of utilizing templates is it's going to pull over forms that live within the template, meaning that you don't need to go in and individually add those each and every time. You'll also be able to see that it's only pulling over seller representation templates. And that is because whatever selection you make here for your representation will then dictate what brokerage templates or personal templates are being pulled over, which ultimately just means that you're not going to have to comb through a bunch of templates that might not pertain to the specific representation. I'm going to go ahead and make a selection here. And then our next step is to select that Create button. And just like that, we've created our first forms file. Once we create a forms file, it then populates these 4 different tabs here down at the bottom. First one being forms, again, pulling over the forms that live within that template. Now, utilizing a template, there's already those pre-populated documents, as you see here, that were pulled over. Although we do know that there are certain cases where maybe you need to add in additional association form, or maybe you want to upload, let's say, a piece of marketing material that will be sent out with these documents. Now, all you need to do in order to start sending these out to your client is selecting either select all if you're ready to send every single document, or you can individually make those selections as well. The next step is going to be to select fill and send. And as you'll see here in the documents, they're already mapped and pre-populated with information that should already be here. Again, the association forms in SkySlope mirror the same exact way that they're in your association library. However, rather than having to, hop in and out of different platforms, Everything is integrated into SkySlope, meaning you're only going to need to be in SkySlope. You'll also be able to see that the personal and professional information that I walk through and how you set it up is automatically populating into these fields. Again, just reducing any manual work that's needed on your end. Now, our next step is going to ask you to create an envelope, and I'll show you where this comes in. But one thing that I do like to recommend is I personally like to detail out what's in the envelope. And I'll show you why when we get to the page, but here I'm just going to say, so you'll see here, I detailed out to kind of match what's included. And then below that are going to be the recipients. So Julia, our seller, needs to sign. I'm the seller agent that's going to be executing this, and I don't want to sign. So I'm just going to update that to receive a copy and then select next. Once I select next, it is going to walk us through our digital signature tool. Again, this is called DigiSign, and this is integrated into SkySlope. This is the last page that you will walk through before you officially send this out to your client. And as I previously mentioned, these documents are mapped and fillable exactly how they are within your association. We do know that there are certain situations where you might need to add in additional toolbar items. So let's say this required an additional signature. You could select that signature up at the top and then drop down that signature wherever it's needed. Now, let's say at the last minute you want to add an additional recipient. You're able to do that within the DigiSign portion. You'll have these 3 dots next to the recipient column. And all you need to do is select edit recipients. Let's say we wanted to add in Amanda. And you'll see here we can then indicate what signing group they're in. So you'll have the ability to set up groups. And if I don't want Amanda to even see this until Julia goes in, reviews and signs, then I'd indicate signing group 2. And that would mean that it's first sent to Julia to sign. Once those are completed, it's then sent over to Amanda. Now, the final step is going to be to select send. Email subject line, again, personal preference of mine. I like to put in a property address. And then you can customize a message to your client. Once ready, all you need to do is select send for signatures. And just like that, we've sent our first envelope. Yes, it can, Michael. Great question. Now, if you remember a few slides back, I said that I personally like to detail out the envelope name. That's because let's say you're sending different envelopes or different documents, as you would call it, at different times. You're going to have multiple envelopes underneath this tab. Now, rather than having to select on in here and see what documents live in here, if you indicate what is in that envelope, you could quickly reference it underneath your envelopes tab. So it just makes things a little bit easier. But I'm going to go ahead and take a brief pause and see if there are any questions before we hop into the next set. Yvette, you can send more than one doc. If you remember, I sent 2 out. That's just the envelopes are if you're sending it at different times. So we sent out these 2 documents, but then let's say tomorrow we need to send another one. That's when you'd go back in, send another envelope, and then that envelope would then be right underneath this one. All right, then. So our next step, can interactive forms be sent to customer to complete and save for future signature? Be sent to complete and save. Can you elaborate on what you mean by save for future signature? All right, well, we're getting that clarification. We're gonna go ahead and hop on into what your client will see. And save to the customer complete seller disclosure and save to system. So anytime that you send out a document and you request their signature, once the requested signatures and or initials are completed, it will be a finished document. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but this is prior to signatures. Yeah, you could send something through DigiSign if you're just wanting them to have it, but I would recommend waiting until you have a file if you're wanting it to work with a seamless experience. But you can definitely still send documents through DigiSign, even if you're not ready for it to live within a file. Yes, Michael, it will notify you once they sign. It will send over, actually, we're going to get to that. So let's just walk through the next step. The next step is we're walking through what your client receives when you send something through DigiSign. So this could be, an envelope that we sent from a file, or it could be what Theodore is asking for, just sending something out to your client. Obviously, my name will be replaced by yours. And then again, that property address is in the subject line. So when your client receives this, all they need to do is see, okay, well, here's that personalized message. I'm going to go ahead and select get started. Anytime that they hop on into here, it will ask for them to accept their e-signature terms. That's just because they are being asked for their signature. And then they can read word for word. And once they're ready, all they need to do is select start, and it will walk them through each required field. You'll see here, it leads them down to the next required field, and it will keep doing this until they are completed. Jeff, yeah, you could definitely set that up in your own personal template if you would like. Now you'll see here that they can download this on their end. And then you'll see that once that's completed, Michael, this answers your question. It will send over an envelope saying envelope completed. Now navigating back on over to our SkySlope account, that status has now been marked to completed. Any envelope tab that you have here will also include 3 dots, and those 3 dots will allow for you to download the envelope, download the certificate, and what I always like to focus on is view history. SkySlope originated for compliance reasons, and we like to put compliance into every feature that we possibly can. This one being in the envelope tab will allow for you to see when the envelope was created, when it was sent, when it was viewed, and even when it was signed. So you have all of the activity logs here to really reference exactly when everything took place if needed. Now, the next step, again, just to kind of reiterate what we've done, our first step is coming over to SkySlope forms, executing our association or your broker specific forms. Once those are executed, we want to put that into a listing or a transaction file. To create a listing or a transaction file, we will navigate back over to SkySlope Suite. And our next step is going to be dependent on who you were representing on the form side. So again, remember, you went through forms. It asked, who are you representing? For this demo, we selected the seller. So our next step is going to be to select create new, and we would select the listing, create new listing, because it was a seller. Now, representation type, we're just going to go ahead and enter in some information here, and then enter or select a property. So you'll see here that when I input in this address, it's going to go ahead and pull over our forms that we already started creating. Now here we'll just have to enter in some information. And then it will continue walking us through. Now, once you create a file, it will have different tabs here up at the top. The first one is the listing tab. This is going to contain all listing information. Contacts tab is any contact affiliated with this. And then the checklist tab. This is going to be your most frequently used tab because this is where you're going to be able to see what's required from you and what is if applicable. So that status column is going to be your best friend with indicating what needs to be submitted. Now, a few different ways for you to upload documents to the checklist. You can select attach, and what that will do is grab documents from your documents tab. You can drag an icon directly into one of the fields here. Or one of my favorite things is you can send items over to this property specific email. Anytime you create a listing file or you create a transaction file, it will also populate a property specific email. And that property specific email is going to be a way for you to email PDFs directly into this file. So let me show you what I mean by that. We're going to reference an email from Julia. And we're going to go ahead and forward it and then select or paste in that property specific email and press send. So what this is doing is rather than downloading the PDF, uploading the PDF, getting this exactly where it's intended to be, we want it to take out as much manual work as we possibly can. And we want to get this exactly where it's intended to be. So as I mentioned, anything sent to this property specific email will automatically be stored in that documents tab. So let's go ahead and head right on over to our documents tab, and you'll be able to see the listing packet is already there waiting for us. You'll also be able to see that the association forms are already populated here for us as well. And that again is the benefit of having everything integrated into one platform. Now, from one great feature to another, the next thing that I want to focus on is the ability to split apart a packet. So I'm going to go ahead and make my selection on this packet and then select split. And I want you to think of the large packets that you receive, and maybe currently you're printing them out, you're separating them, re-uploading them how they're intended to be. You have the ability to split apart documents directly here within SkySlope. So you'll see here that we've done this document a few times. So it has an AI component and it's already understood how you want to separate these. But I'm going to clear these just so we can walk through it manually so you can see how it works. I'm going to select on the new document name here, and you'll be able to see this is pulling over items from our checklist. So I'll just make that first selection. This is from page 1 to 4. Get a copy of this. And you could go on and on. We'll just do one more. Now, the next step is you can either split it. So maybe you're not quite ready to assign it to your checklist. You're just ready to split and have this saved underneath your documents tab. Or what we're going to do now is we're ready to assign this as well. So we're going to select split and assign. And then we're going to go ahead and see that 3 were attached to your checklist. So let's go back on over there. And you'll be able to see those once required statuses are now reflecting in review. The in review status is indicating that your job as the agent at this time is completed, and it's in the hands of your sales managers to either go in and approve or deny the document. Now, before I hop into my next demo, I do want to see if there are any questions. Gracie, I'll cover notifications at the end.
Okay, thank you.
So the next step is anytime that your admin team either approves or denies a document, it will also send you over an email. So we're going to navigate back on over to our email inbox, and you're going to see here, Broker Bob, checklist has been updated. Anytime that you receive an email like this, you'll be able to see exactly what property this checklist belongs to. And within the email, you'll also have a bird's eye view of the checklist. So if I received this as an agent, I'd say, okay, cool, my listing agreement was approved because it's marked as completed. I still need to get in a copy of the MLS printout because this is a required document. And then if anything is ever rejected, it will come across as incomplete. And your sales managers also have the ability to detail out why. So here I see missing signature on page 2, which means I could quickly go to the checklist from within this email, get that missing signature completed, and then resubmit it there to our team. If you upload something before you needed to, all you need to do is select on the X here, and you could remove that document, and it will revert right back on over to the original status, which here is the required status. Now, let's say we have an interested buyer. We're ready to select accepted contract. What this will do is if it started as a listing and you have an interested buyer, we would select create transaction, and it would then convert that listing directly into a transaction. And what we're going to go ahead and do now is navigate on into transactions so you can see exactly what those will look like. Here, you'll be able to see all of the different transactions that I have in my demo account. When I make that selection on the transaction file, you'll be able to see it looks pretty similar to the listing file that we just came from. Instead of a listing tab, we have a transaction tab, same contacts tab. The only difference on the transaction side is going to be the commission tab. This commission tab is where you're going to be able to see the sales price, the listing, the sales commission. And then again, to the right of that is that infamous checklist tab that you will be utilizing. You'll see instead of listing documentation, it now reflects sales documentation. Please keep in mind that you can only pull one checklist for a listing file and one checklist for a transaction. If this originated from a listing, if you scroll all the way down, you'll be able to see your listing documentation as well. So again, SkySlope started for compliance reasons, and we want to keep that in everything that we possibly can. We want you to have everything readily available within one file, even if it started as a transaction. Now, at any time, you could go ahead and select the transaction box here, download it, and cancel it. You'll see when I select cancel that it will ask, because this started as a listing file, that if we want to reactivate the original listing. So rest assured that even if the transaction falls through, you can always revert it back to the listing. That way you're not missing or losing out on anything. Now, in between view listings and view transactions, you'll have this more drop-down box, and this is where you're going to be able to see access archives and canceled contracts. Again, SkySlope started for compliance, and because of that, nothing is ever deleted within SkySlope. It's simply reorganized. So if you hop in and you know you archived a file or you know you canceled a contract, rather than combing through all of the different files, you could say, well, I know this is an access archive, so you could hop on in there quickly to see that file, or same thing with a canceled contract. You do have the ability to set tasks and reminders for yourself, a great way to keep up with your workflow. And then the last thing that I want to cover here is going to be working documents. So there was a question earlier about being proactive and sending out a document, even if there's, maybe not any signatures or maybe not a file yet created. And you'll do that within your DigiSign account. However, because maybe being proactive, there's not necessarily a file created yet, anything sent through DigiSign that does not have a file connected, Any signatures or initials or dates, any tool item that was requested from that document, once completed, will land underneath your personal docs tab. And then let's say in the future, you create a file, you could locate the document, select assign, and quickly assign that into a file. So again, SkySlope Suite is a great bird's eye view of everything that's currently being worked on. All of the features are readily available on your main home screen here. The search bar will allow for you to search property numbers, making it a little bit easier there for you to go, guys, to locate a file. Now, navigating to Gracie's question regarding notifications, the last thing that I do want to cover is, just like you set up a forms profile, I encourage you to set up your settings in your SkySlope suite. So here you'll land on personal information. If you change your email or your phone number, you can do all of that within this tab. However, your notifications tab is a great way for you to toggle on how you want to be notified. So let's say email me if the list date or expiration date changes, you could select that and you can really indicate exactly how you want to be notified. Always just make sure that you select that save button. But that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover in our training here today. Again, if you have any questions, if there's a feature that you want to feel more comfortable with, feel free at any time to contact our support team. You have all of the resources that you need. Just to show you guys another, like SkySlope forms, look at all of the different articles that you have in here. Yeah, so Rob asked, where do you find the libraries? And remember, all association and everything will be on the form side. You'll find your name here in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll want to go over to libraries. This is where you're going to be able to search for your library. Once you have those connected, you can also use the Browse Libraries tab up at the top to view that and see all of the libraries that you are affiliated with. But any other questions?
Yeah, I still have a question on the notifications.
Uh-huh.
I'm the office admin for Northville, so well, my notifications page was larger than the one that you
Yeah.
had up there. I have them all on right now, but I'm still like, because I'm like, maybe I'm missing something, but I'm not getting, are we not supposed to get notified when a document we've submitted is rejected?
If you're the one who submitted the document to the checklist and somebody else goes in and rejects it, it should notify you.
Okay, now I'm submitting under I mean, obviously I have my own account, but I put in the agent's name, whoever's dealing with that transaction. Is the email going to them and not me? Or should it still come to me because I entered the document?
Whose login are you doing it under? Yours?
Yeah, like I have my own account, but I have to call out the agent I'm submitting it for on the transaction, whatever kind of transaction it is, whether it's a listing or a transaction. They asked me for the agent's name, which I put in, obviously, but I'm logged in under my Grace account, like in SkySlope.
If you want, I would have support hop on a screen share with you, just because I'd need to see it in order to give you an actual answer. And they'll be able to tell you right then and there, once you either hop on a screen share or you send them over a picture, just to get that clarification.
Yeah, I did call a couple times today and it said something about a password reset, and if that's not why you're calling, just email or chat. And then the call ended, so I never got to talk to anyone. And then the chat, they said they'd get back to me via email, and I haven't heard anything. So that's why I jumped on today to see if there was.
Yeah. Send them over that screenshot that you're seeing. If you're the one submitting it, though, you should be getting the notification. But reach out to them, send them that, and they'll be able to clarify.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Are we feeling good? Are we excited? All right, then if there are no other questions, I will let you all go. Yep, Christian, our support team is readily available via phone, via instant chat, via email, screen share, anything that you need, they are available. All right, then. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
day, everybody. Thank you all for attending, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.